I'd like to go over a few things for tile maps in Godot today. First thing is that tile maps have been removed, so now we use TileMapLayers. The only difference is that TileMapLayers are individual nodes, and you wouldn't select the layers on tile maps anymore. I have a few TileMap layers set up here already. When you initially set up a TileMap layer, you'll select your TileMap layer node, create a new tile set for the TileMap layer, and then drag your tile set image into the tiles list here. And then you have your tile map image displayed over on the right. So first I'll differentiate between the tile set tab and the tile map tab. The tile set tab is for setting up your tile set. And the tile map tab is for actually controlling which cells go onto the tile map layer. You can select an individual cell and then draw it out onto the screen, but it gets tedious to set up all the proper cells individually and to try to randomize them. So what you'll want to do generally is set up a terrain. From your tile set tab, you want to visit the paint properties, and I have terrains set here. Normally the interface will look something like this. From the paint tab, you can select terrains, select a terrain set, which you would add on the right, and then add terrains to that terrain set. So I have dirt and grass set up. So you can see over here, I've already painted the grass is grass and the dirt is dirt. You can read more in detail about these peering bits and how they actually work. But the general advice is to paint the path that you want for the surface, the terrain surface that you're working on, and to leave the edges off so that for your tile set, Godot can put together the edges for you. I'll try to leave a link to the terrain peering bits section where it goes over specifically how those work. But as you can see, you just paint the terrain for a standard tile set, and the unpainted areas are selected by Godot whenever you draw the path for your terrain. So in this case, the dirt is painted in the dirt tiles here and here and here along these edges, but I didn't paint the edge here. And the same thing for the grass layer. It's painted all along the grass, but not at the edge of the grass. You can see here I have these dirt areas painted, but to get some blank tiles added in, I've also added in these blank tiles here and painted those completely so that they'll be picked from as well and not just the tiles that have textures in them. The same thing for the grass. I selected some blank tiles over here as well. If you select too many of them, it does affect the probability because it picks at a probability of 1 for every single tile. So if you select more, you're more likely to get more of that tile over the other ones. So you can either control the probability or do as I did and just select fewer of them. So now, if we go to actually paint these with those terrain rules set up, let me erase this. We have, if we select the dirt, we can paint on dirt. And you can see it has the border for grass around it already. The same thing for grass. You can add in a grass area. If we paint in more dirt here, oops, more dirt here, it automatically updates the edges for you. If you paint into the grass, the edges are automatically updated. and the same thing for vice versa. An interesting part about this tile set, since it seems to be less standard, is that it doesn't have tiles for single tile paths. The edges are only on opposing blocks. We do have single 16 pixel wide essentially paths, but they're dispersed between several tiles. Um, they're not centered in the middle of the tile as they would need to be. And they do have a half offset square option here, but I'm not sure whether it helps for this scenario. So I wanted to go over redrawing certain tiles. For this tile set, we started out with 4 tiles here. You can select those if you want this to be one tile and delete them, and then shift in the setup tab, shift, click and drag to create a larger tile. And then I'll add this to the colliders. If we select on the tile map and place this rock down, you can see it's off center and it draws into multiple tiles. But I do want to recenter it in this case. So if I go to the tile set and paint the texture origin, I can set these to be whatever I want and get it closer to the center here. I also want to go over painting the collisions. You can add a, if you select the tile set itself, you can add a physics layer. And then when you select the physics layer in the paint tab, you can draw collisions and then paint them onto your cell. So in this case, I might set a collision, something like this, and then paint it onto the rock here. Occasionally you might drag something up here and not be able to get to it again. If you right click, you can drag the view around there. So that's how you'd set up collision. And the last thing I want to go over is actually adding a scene as a tile. In this other scene, I have a chest set up that has a collision on it, collision shape on it, and it also has something I've called an interact area, which is just an area 2D that the player will be able to interact with. I'd like to be able to place that whole scene on the tile map so that I don't have to go and individually place each node. So to do that, in your tile set, you can add a scenes collection. In this case, I have one here I just called chest. And I've added the chest scene to the scene property. And you can select the scene in this interface on the TileMap tab and then draw the scene in as a tile. So then all of your functionality that is in the logic of that scene on your scripts or from all of your other nodes will show up as a scene, even though it's painted as a tile. So that's all I wanted to go over today. I hope it helps. And I'll leave some links to some other resources I found useful in the description. See you next time.